Good Thursday morning. Welcome into the early game. I'm Elijah Campbell. He's Preston Thorne. She's Jen Jensen. We collectively excited about college football season. Really only 38 days until the Gamecocks put toe to leather. But if you think about it, we have 37 days until the first real Saturday of college football season. And then you do the math, subtract 7. We have 31 days, a full month, until we're actually playing college football.
I like what you're doing here. Aside from that, if I was to do the math very, very quickly, if I was just to look this up,
Dangerous
use my Google,
Dangerous game.
Do my Google machine very quickly. None of that actually would have mattered to me because it is only 8 days until practice starts.
Yeah,
so
practice.
That's how I would
Not
be.
a game.
If we were thinking about this and people were like, oh, yeah, man, I can't wait till the first game. Right now and I think times have changed.
Yes.
But the idea of in 8 days I have to report to camp. Oh, boy.
That's when it's really hitting for you.
Stressful situation. Yeah, it's my brain chemistry still around this time of year is like, man, we got to go to camp. And, boy, this is not going to be a lot of fun. So, yes, 8 days till camp. Did you say 30? How many days till the first game?
31.
31. Now, really quickly, are you a week 0 denier? Because this is a big thing on the station. Wes Mitchell is a huge denier of week 0. And I think people have various energies out of that. So where do you stand on this? Let's put it on the table right now.
The games are real, and I will enjoy the games. But mathematically, there is no such thing as a 0th week to a season. That's where I get rubbed the wrong way. If it's the first week we're playing football games, that's week 1. If you want to, make a bigger deal of your week 1, I get it. But don't gaslight me and tell me that this is the 0th week of games because the games count. You can't have a 0th anything.
Yeah, week 0, I definitely remember that coming from the high school ranks. And, it was a way to start the season before the school year started. And you could start the season and then slip a bye week into the middle of the season. Only a few teams did it. But it stopped becoming a thing when everybody plays week 0. So it's really actually just week 1.
In high school, it's especially more egregious because basically everybody plays.
Right.
I remember last year when doing the high school football scoreboard show, we went and looked at that slate for week 0,
everybody
the 0th week.
Yeah.
And I was like, really, there's only like 2 or 3 teams in our coverage area that's not playing.
Yeah.
At that point, it's the first full week of the season.
Correct.
So if I'm going to start a football season and there will be games in a week, it is not the 0th week of the season. That is technically your first week of the season.
We're still learning each other. I just need to know where you stand on that because I didn't want to say anything or maybe possibly, step on any landmines if you have any strong feelings about that. All right.
But some people dog on the games. Now, it's not like a murderer's row of football games. Like Iowa State, Kansas State is a fun football game. It being played in Ireland is a little weird. I still haven't let that one settle in yet. I'm still not really pro playing conference games in a different continent. We'll never really be into that. Mm-hmm. But that's at least a really good football team between 2 teams contending for a Big 12 title. 2 of the 6 teams that are contending for a Big 12 title.
Yeah, it's a great game between 2 teams that more than likely most of the country will not pay attention to until you look up and they're both ranked somewhere between 20 and 10. They both have 8 to 9 wins, and you're like,
yep.
Get out of here.
These teams are pretty good. Yeah, these guys end up being pretty good.
Look at Kansas State again.
And crazy enough, because of the way the Big 12 is and how even the entire league is across the board, again, the Big 12's tagline is, we're all pretty good. This game might end up deciding who is playing in Jerry World in the first weekend in December at the Big 12 title game, which, again, mind you, is a college football playoff play-in. And last year, we had 4 teams vying for those 2 spots. 5 maybe, if you can't. I can't remember who else it was. That was maybe like a game out behind them, but it was all really close. The margins were super thin. Kansas State and Iowa State, can definitively say 2 of the better teams in terms of what they have coming back and who their coaches are, that this game maybe could be what keeps one of them out of a Big 12 championship game, and it's being played in Ireland.
Yeah.
That part's gonna that might rub somebody the wrong way.
So your argument is that this is in effect a novelty game However, it has serious
implications
on the season.
Absolutely.
I didn't think about that. That makes a lot of sense.
And last year was Florida State, Georgia Tech, which we didn't think would have ACC implications because we figured Florida State would be the team competing for an ACC title game appearance, and that Georgia Tech would be the one scratching and clawing for any type of winning season. That changed pretty quickly.
Well, most importantly, it birthed my favorite quote from the year. Brent Key, run the ball.
Yes.
I think that was my top 10 quotes of the year.
They ran the hell out of the ball in that game. I'm not going to lie. That was fun to watch. It was fun to watch them end up beating a team that was supposed to be top 10 to start the season. And just doing it by running.
One of my favorite quotes.
Running up and down the field on them. And if you look, a week after that, which of course also not to bury the lead here too, Fresno State, Kansas should be a fun game. We get to watch Kansas play. It's a fun offense for any college football sicko out there. If you like offensive creativity, Lance Leipold's teams have those. And then for the real sickos out there, Sam Houston and Western Kentucky, that's a conference game.
Hilltoppers.
That's right, the Hilltoppers. The bane of my existence. I have a love-hate relationship with Western Kentucky. Arch rival of Middle Tennessee State. I had a cousin that was a kicker for Western Kentucky in the late aughts, early teens.
And they have an awesome mascot.
Big Red is awesome. I can't hate Big Red.
Yeah, it's tough.
I can't hate Big Red. I've got friends out to school that hate everything about Western, and they dump all over Big Red when they get the chance. I take no Big Red slander. Great college football mascot. But then you fast forward to the next week, and we have from Thursday on to Monday college football games, and a lot of them are really good. Like that Thursday is interesting. Boise State at South Florida, low-key interesting. There's some intrigue there. Later that night, you don't have as many bangers of matchups, but Nebraska-Cincinnati on that Thursday at 9 o'clock. Later, a late kick, but I will be locked in as much as I can because it's not a must-win for Nebraska per se. But, buddy, if they lose to Cincinnati on the road to start the year, the discourse in Lincoln, Nebraska is going to get nasty.
Yeah, and I did have a special eye on Nebraska last year as Marcus Satterfield was the OC, but he's no longer the OC. So a little bit of the fun has been taken out of hate watching Nebraska. So I'm not watching it as much. However, I am now watching it to see if Dylan Raiola can continue to steal Patrick Mahomes' identity. If this is going to be if this is a thing,
valor.
if that's a thing that is going to continue to happen. So that's a reason why I might watch that particular game.
Then Saturday, in terms of opening slates, like for the first weekend of a college football season, one of the deeper ones, at least in my memory. Now there have been some really good ones, but this one, like all day. I mean that 12 o'clock window, Tennessee and Syracuse. And then you also have Texas at Ohio State, which is arguably the headliner, unless you consider LSU Clemson the headliner. But those are two incredible games that you have at noon. And then Mississippi, here's another underrated one, Mississippi State at Southern Miss. It might not sound sexy on paper. That game, again, at Southern Miss, new coach, a bunch of players that he brought from his team that was wildly successful. Marshall, mind you, won the Sun Belt last year. And they somehow decide not to renew that contract with Charles Huff. Charles Huff goes to Southern Miss. Mississippi State, obviously still a work in progress. That one can get a little hairy. But then you have Alabama at Florida State, 3:30. You then go on later in the schedule, almost a standalone game in terms of relevance, but LSU at Clemson, maybe the headliner of the weekend in terms of just great matchup, mano-a-mano. And then Sunday, we all know who's playing on that one, South Carolina, Virginia Tech. And then after that game ends, you have Notre Dame at Miami.
Here's what's very interesting about this calendar, and I didn't think about it till we're just going through this now. You have potentially 1, 2, and if I stretch, 3 national championship previews. Because of the new system, these are still allowed. Texas versus Ohio State, I'm sure some people have that picked as the national championship.
That could happen.
LSU Clemson, that can happen.
Can happen.
Notre Dame Miami. Can happen. There's a stretch to it, but it can happen.
Maybe a playoff game.
Maybe a playoff game. So these are implications of teams that you might see playing now, and because of the new system, because of the way the playoffs are set up, you might see these teams play each other again. And so where originally we was thinking, week 1, the playoffs are going to take the juice out of the regular season because there was a time there way back in the day right?
A long time ago.
There was a time where this Texas-Ohio State meant death for a particular team. It doesn't mean that anymore, but there still are implications for it.
And they're measuring stick games.
Right.
Now they can become true measuring stick games, as opposed to just an elimination in the long span of a regular season that is basically knockout round week to week. But did you notice a trend in a lot of those games that I highlighted, Preston Thorne? A lot of them are SEC games.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a narrative killer. Sorry, Kurt Signetti. We'll have time for you a little later as well, because we're not done. We're not done. I know I'm not done with Kurt Signetti. Preston has some fresher takes, but I know I am not done. But there are a lot of marquee matchups here. And really the only Big Ten one where you're looking at what they have out of conference to start the year that is remotely challenging is Ohio State. Like, credit for Ohio State for committing to play that game. Now, a couple of Big Ten teams are playing non-conference games, but mostly because some of them, I don't know whether it's due to public pressure, a desire to revive the Pac-12, but UCLA is hosting Utah at 11 o'clock. We get old school Pac-12 after dark. But other than Ohio State, really, it's not a lot of challenging yourself in the first week of the season. There are plenty of SEC schools challenging themselves to start the year. It does make for a really fun week one.
You're saying that goes against what? Apparently they had their marching orders at Big Ten Media Weekend.
Oh, everybody got the memo. Yeah.
Because they were all lockstep in key about how they were going to approach this. So you're saying that kind of goes against what they're saying?
I would say what they're saying definitely is not rooted in fact or evidence. And it's not like we have to really dig that far into the schedule. I mean, this is the opening week of the season. And yes, I understand there are some inexcusable schedule games by the SEC in here. Oklahoma playing Illinois State to start the year. I have a rule. It's just a college football rule of thumb. If you're going to schedule an FCS team, do it to the benefit of the teams in your state.
Jen, do you have a mascot on Illinois State?
Cardinals?
The Cardinals, okay.
Yes.
It's my husband's alma mater.
Fighting Cardinals. I figured we'd be in the ballpark, all right? The fighting Cardinals. Illinois State Fighting Cardinals. There you go. Don't disrespect them.
No disrespect on the Fighting Cardinals at Illinois State. Maybe Oklahoma should be scared. I don't know. Maybe they are scheduling tough week one. It certainly
we'll have to check with Mr. Jensen on that one. We'll see. We'll see if he's going to get up for that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're not going to be that scared.
We'll get the scouting report on Mr. Jensen for that one. We'll have to have him call in and give a full breakdown of Illinois State's football team coming into the season. But Florida does play LIU Brooklyn. That's a sin. And Arkansas's got Alabama A&M. Doesn't fit my rule. It still violates my rule, but you're a lesser violator of the rule than Florida. There are plenty of FCS teams in Florida that the Gators could have played to start the year. I didn't know LIU Brooklyn had a football team. I was wholly aware of their existence as a university. Didn't know they played football.
I am not aware of your rule, but I think our schedule stands up to it because when we play in our games, it's South Carolina State. I think it's this in-state thing is what you're going with.
Yes.
And I wholeheartly agree. If you're going to play these games, at least keep the money in the state, right?
Yes.
So we're playing South Carolina State, Coastal. I got it. Yep. Yeah. I like that rule.
In the last 3 years, they have abided by that rule. Mm-hmm. Again, don't love the FCS games. I get why they exist. So for anybody who goes, well, Elijah, the FCS schools make a lot of money. I get it. And I'm willing to live with it because of that. I don't love them, but if you're going to benefit an FCS program, you should do it within the teams in your state. Have a little bit of patriotism and help those schools out. If you're going to do this, what good does Florida have playing LIU Brooklyn? I really want to go back and see just how long they've even had a football team because it has flown under the radar. That
feels like one of those deals. If we were doing Pablo Torre finds out, we might find a nefarious trail on that. Like somebody's cousin was the athletic director when they signed the deal 7 years ago, and now they stuck playing the game. That feels like there's a nefarious tie to that because that shouldn't happen.
Yeah, nepotism or worse, blood money. I don't know. There might be something involved in that game that we are definitely not privy to. But the best part about week one is the amount of coin flip games that are on the national schedule. We'll continue schedule talk, and we're going to do it by talking about South Carolina's coin flip games throughout the season. That's next here on the early game.
No accidents to report at this time. That's a great start to your Thursday morning. 91 with a few storms later this afternoon or this evening, possibility. And again, a high of 91. 96 tomorrow, mostly sunny, and then the heat really ratchets up on Saturday and Sunday. We're looking for highs of 100, 101. Heat indexes could be as high as 109. We'll be doing that for several days. So enjoy our 91 today, currently 76 on 107.5 The Game.
One thing about a difficult schedule is that it allows for a lot of coin flip games. Coin flip games can also result in one-score games, and how you do in one-score games oftentimes defines whether you over or underachieve during the season. South Carolina last year, 3-3 in those games in the regular season, and it made for a pretty good year still. And I think that means 9-3 wasn't a fluke. Then you have some teams that are the beneficiary of a lot of one-score games in those coin flips, and it makes maybe a 10-2 season, gets a 10-2 season or an 11-1 season out of a year that would normally be 8-4, 9-3. So when looking at South Carolina's schedule, I wanted to identify what the coin flip games were. We can play the schedule game all day. We go up and down the slate and assign wins and losses, but the ones where you're sitting there, you're like, ooh, that's a toss-up. Those are the ones that ultimately define what your season is. And when I counted my coin flip games, I have an asterisk next to one of them. But I counted 6 of them on South Carolina's schedule. Which means if you go, say those are the one-score games, if you go 3-3 in those as well, you might be looking at 9-3. That's 9-3 again, which is good. But Preston, you look at the schedule right now. How many do you define as a coin flip game?
All right, so here's a discrepancy. I have 7.
7? Okay.
Yeah, I have 7. So let me recount.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, I have 7. So let's go through the schedule and let's see where the discrepancy lies between us, because there's obviously one game that we don't agree on. And I'm looking in your eyes. I don't know which one it is. So where you want to start? You want to start at the top of the schedule?
Let's start at the top.
All right. Do you have Virginia Tech as one of the games?
I do not.
I do not either. Okay, cool.
Ooh,
we can move forward.
I think
All right.
I know what it is now.
South Carolina State.
Definitely not.
Okay.
I appreciate your consideration.
Appreciate the Bulldogs.
Yes.
Get up for the Bulldogs, just not that weekend. All right. Vandy.
I do not.
I do not either. Okay.
Okay.
Missouri.
Yes.
Okay. I have Missouri
I have
also.
Missouri as a coin flip
I have
game.
Missouri as a coin flip.
Solely because of where it's at.
Because it's at Mizzou.
It's at Mizzou.
The Mayor's Cup is a coin flip for you. Okay.
You have to get a new name for that one. We really do.
We have a trophy.
We have to ditch the trophy. It's also ugly as sin.
Okay, so we agree on that. Kentucky. Nope, me either. All right, I don't know when it's going to happen.
I think I know what it is.
South Carolina versus LSU.
I do not. I look at that and I think LSU wins that.
Ooh, so that's where our discrepancy is.
Yep, in Death Valley. I think LSU, as good as they are this year, that's a game that LSU has to have. Absolutely has to have. Brian Kelly has to have that game, especially if they drop that game to Clemson to start the year, which I think they do. That's a game that is a pivotal turning point game, because if LSU loses that game, that is 2 losses on the schedule before halfway through October.
Because you're counting that they lost to Clemson.
I think Clemson beats them.
Okay, so you have, okay, all right, that's a very interesting way to take it. What I'm wondering is if, because we are ranked so high in the preseason poll, number 5, is that game necessarily a must-win to those fan bases? Because can somebody soothe themselves by saying, oh, South Carolina was supposed to be pretty good this year? Or do they feel like they lost to the old South Carolina?
I think if they lose to South Carolina, it's then Brian Kelly can't beat good teams thing. That boogeyman is coming out of that that closet, and now it is hovering over your bed as you sleep, and you cannot sleep anymore because you have the boogeyman hovering over you.
And so you're saying we're a good team.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
people will be like, so they won't be mad because they lost to a bad team.
Correct.
They'll be mad because Brian Kelly can't beat good teams,
Especially at home.
especially at home. That's
Because they got rolled by Alabama last year. That was one of the games that kept them out. At LSU, they expect to win every single night game at Death Valley because it has gotten itself that reputation for being one of the hardest places to play in college football. And even though South Carolina is a really good football team, they would not take that kindly. Now, if the game was played here again and they lost, that would be an easier pill for them to swallow. But to lose a night game at home, because I know it's a flex game right now, but I can almost guarantee you that one's going to be played under the lights.
all right. So we both have Oklahoma as a coin flip game.
Yep.
I think I'm reconsidering that.
Okay. As in, you are confident enough to go ahead and stamp that as a W right here.
Yeah, I think maybe more so as a must win for the program if we're going to if we consider ourselves serious and willing to take the next step and be the 5th preseason team. I think that's a game that's a must win. So I think we're back to 6 and both of us have 6. I'm gonna reconsider that.
I have an asterisk next to one of mine.
Is it Bama?
Nope. I
So
think Bama's a coin flip.
Both of them have that as a coin flip.
I have that as a legitimate coin flip because I think, especially if Ty Simpson isn't spectacular, I think that a team that has Dylan Stewart on it can make that kid panic into some throws he shouldn't be making. Might win the turnover battle.
Ole Miss.
That is my coin flip game with the asterisk.
Why do you have an asterisk there?
Because I don't know what the hell they are. I really don't. Austin Simmons, I can trust to be pretty good, but every single player outside of Suntarine Perkins on that defense, transfer player. Like South Carolina at least has a secondary coming back this year I can believe in. Dylan Stewart is a player I can absolutely believe in. And they have a couple transfers that can make or break, or transfers and players that are playing up in role that can make or break that defense and make them become a top 20 unit. Ole Miss has a lot of transfers. They vary in production. Offensively, they have to replace so much, and that's a lot of pressure on Harrison Wallace to fill in the shoes of Trey Harris because he was legitimately one of the best receivers in the country, and there might not have been a wide receiver with more on his plate than Trey Harris.
Texas A&M?
Coin flip. Even though I'm leaning A&M in that game. A&M might be the best team in the SEC on the lines of scrimmage, and that's my biggest concern is having to play at Texas A&M, and if they win that line of scrimmage battle. But I do give South Carolina a really good chance, within a 5% chance. Like, we're talking, like, if I'm leaning A&M, it might be 52-48, 53-47.
Well, I think the thing you consider at that point is where is Texas A&M in their season? Because we could be catching them at the end of the season where they have decided to pack up,
like they did last year,
and go home. Which
like how like Auburn got them last year,
right? Kind of how they do. Coastal, shout out to the Chanticleers.
Shots up,
but
yeah, that's not quite
all right. Cool. And then Clemson,
coin flip.
Yep. All right. So we there's a little bit of a discrepancy. There's a little bit of discrepancy of how we see the games.
Yeah, let's see how David has these games on our AAA Heating and Air phone lines. David, good morning. Welcome to the early game.
Good morning, guys. It's not often that I really disagree with Preston.
Okay.
But I don't really see how we can determine coin flip games when we don't really know how good we're going to be because we have no idea how defense is going to respond to all the replacements that we've had to make. Hopefully the offense is going to be good, but technically we don't even know if the offense is going to be good enough to be able to carry the defense. Appreciate what you do, man. Take it off here.
Awesome. Thank you, David. Yeah, we got to hit a break, so we'll address that. We'll address David's call on coin flip games, and there's also other stuff to get into, including how schedules are measured. We talk about coin flip games being a make or break in the season. Strength of schedule can be make or break in how you're determined or looked at to make the college football playoff. So for Old Man versus Analytics today, Preston Thorne is going toe-to-toe with ESPN's FPI strength of schedule metric. And we'll see exactly how much the eye test matches up with that computer model. That's next here in the early game.
Hey, Columbia, it's Preston for Cato's Power Equipment. And Cato's Power Equipment has been family-owned and serving the Midlands since 1983. That's over 40 years. And third-generation owner Ben Cato provides top-notch service, great deals, and the mom-and-pop values that you love. And Ben is determined to raise the standard of sales, service, and retail. At Cato's, we're proud to offer a wide selection of new and pre-owned mowers, tractors, and more. So if you're ready to invest in something new, the friendly team is there to make the process easy, help you choose the right equipment, find financing options, and keep your gear running strong with expert service and parts. Whether you're a weekend warrior or a seasoned landscaping pro, Cato's has you covered with a huge selection of new and pre-owned mowers, tractors, and more. So swing by Cato's Power Equipment today or call them at 803-254-3711. That's Cato's Power Equipment at 803-254-3711.
I-26 eastbound, right near the Lexington-Calhoun County line. There is a report of an accident, so be mindful of that. 91, that's going to be our high today. Maybe the afternoon shower or thunderstorm could pop up. Tomorrow, it's going to be sunny, and it's going to be sunny actually through the weekend. It's just we're going to really get warm. 96 tomorrow, 100 on Saturday, 101 on Sunday, and we'll keep that pattern really through about Wednesday or so. Right now, 76 on 107.5 The Game.
All right, before Preston takes the gloves off and battles ESPN's FPI strength of schedule metric, we'll address David's call. David made some points.
Yeah, David made points, and I appreciate you listening as always, David. I understand what your point is. What I'm basing these coin flip games is I am putting faith in the track record of Shane Beamer, Clayton White being able to develop these players. Because last year I think there were some question marks that we still didn't know. And what I'm doing is I'm submitting to them that they will be able to get this done as a defensive staff and trusting in their development and evaluation process. So, yes, there are questions about the defense. There are guys that are going to need to step up. I am submitting to the coaches that they have the ability to do that. And so really that's where my basis lies.
Banking on a couple of them hitting. Really, all they need, I think, is about 2 or 3 of those new guys to really hit. And some of those can.
But David, you have valid points.
Yes, very much so. And that's kind of what we're all doing. We're all projecting here when it comes to talking about the season because, look, that's why I put an asterisk next to Ole Miss. They could be bad by the time South Carolina plays them on November 1st. They could be a bad football team.
On the other side, we could be a bad football team.
At the very same point, too. Just a fun thought exercise. But now, on today's Old Man versus Analytics, I went through ESPN's FPI strength of schedule metric, something that is used in the College Football Playoff Committee selection process. And we'll see if we have some discrepancies here in terms of if our eyes deceive us or if these computers really got it right. And we're going to start with Vanderbilt because they have apparently the number 2 strength of schedule in America coming into the season. South Carolina is at 13. We talked about how hard Carolina's schedule is. Is there really an 11-point difference between Vanderbilt's schedule and South Carolina? Now, quick rundown. They have a few shared opponents. Vanderbilt has to go at Virginia Tech and play. Carolina's got them on a neutral field. They're at Alabama. They host LSU. They host Missouri. And they play Kentucky. I can't remember if they host Kentucky or not, but they do play Kentucky. Now, Vanderbilt does get 3 of the 4 top 4 SEC teams according to the preseason poll. They get 3 of the 4. They don't get Georgia. And they play 4 of the 8 top 8 teams in the SEC. Carolina has 2 of the top 4. And then outside of themselves, 4 of the top 8. In terms of key road games, Vanderbilt does have to go to Virginia Tech, to Alabama, to South Carolina, to Texas, and to Tennessee.
Go outside, nerd. Get out. Go.
What are we doing, man? We're trying to go through all of these different. We're trying to pick a little fine frog hair out of the bunch. Yes, both their schedules are hard. I don't think there's that big of a difference between these 2 teams. You didn't say they were playing any other world beaters that we're not playing because I didn't. The only one that may be on there that maybe be able to solidify that is Vandy. I'm assuming Vandy's playing Tennessee this year.
Yep, they're at Tennessee.
So that's the one that I might give
Texas.
I might give that edge to, but nah, not that big of a difference.
Yeah, because, I mean, 2 to 13 seems pretty steep.
That seems significant, and I don't think it's that big of a difference.
So that's the first one. Second one, per strength of schedule, Syracuse has a tougher slate than Ohio State. Now, Syracuse is non-conference, Tennessee, neutral site. Then they are home against UConn and Colgate, not the toothpaste, and they play at Notre Dame. Their ACC notable games, they do have to go at Clemson, at SMU, at Georgia Tech, at Miami, home versus Pittsburgh. And for Ohio State, their non-con slate, Texas to start the year at home, Grambling, Doug Williams ain't walking through that door, and Ohio. In their Big Ten notable games, they host Minnesota, they're at Illinois, at Wisconsin, host Penn State, at Michigan. They're separated by 1, by the way. Syracuse is 17, Ohio State is 18.
No, this is fair. I can roll with this one. What the analytic is saying that Syracuse has a slightly tougher schedule than.
Slightly tougher.
When you were saying Syracuse's schedule just now, my ears were like, okay, perked up. The only thing is
road games.
The only thing, yeah, but what's an ACC road game? I mean, aside from just playing in a different venue, do we really think many of those places give those teams like Miami? When you play in Miami, what does that mean?
Not a big home field advantage.
The only thing you might be playing, it depends on when they're playing, you might be playing the weather, right? But
humidity.
Other than that, not necessarily a huge home field advantage. So that's fine. I can roll with that.
I think a lot of it's just the travel, too. going to Clemson, that's a long flight. SMU, long flight.
Yeah.
Georgia Tech, pretty long flight. Miami, very long flight. They're going to rack up a lot of miles this year in terms of their travel.
Mm-hmm.
And last one here. This is an interesting one because Missouri is at number 20 in strength of schedule, according to ESPN's FPI. That's last in the SEC. Is their schedule that much harder than Clemson's, who is ranked 40? So there's a 20-spot difference between Missouri and Clemson. Missouri's non-con slate involves Kansas, Central Arkansas. Scottie Pippen ain't walking through that door. Louisiana, and UMass. No, Marcus Camby does not play football. Their SEC notables, they host South Carolina, they host Alabama, they host A&M, and they're at Oklahoma. Clemson's schedule, non-conference, they host LSU, host Troy, host Furman, at South Carolina. Their conference notable games, at Georgia Tech, host SMU, ACC championship game from last year, host Florida State, whatever Florida State is, and they're at Louisville. So the difference between Clemson and Missouri is 20 spots. How accurate do you think that is?
Go outside, nerd. Get out. Go.
I don't see that being very accurate at all. That's too big of a discrepancy because when you were saying some of those teams that Clemson hosts, and by the way, what's Troy doing these days? You know, they kind of are up and down.
Up and down.
Yeah, so I don't know.
Volatile.
I don't know if where they are in those days because that historically is a team where you'd be like, I don't know. We definitely had our struggles with them when we played them. I guess that was 3 years ago now. So I don't think that's that big of a difference between. I do think it's a difference. I think by virtue of being in the SEC, Mizzou has a tougher schedule, but not 20 spots. I don't think
20 spots. That's what surprised me too, because I mean, anytime. I mean, say what you want about the ACC, totally gettable, but the two out of conference games Clemson plays are really bleeping hard, man. Like at South Carolina and hosting LSU. That's
to
pretty
bookend the
tough.
season.
To bookend the season, yeah. To do that, that's pretty tough. Like we'll get a really good measuring stick game for them early against LSU. I think we're going to find out a lot about both of those teams. I'm leaning Clemson in it. Obviously, still plenty of time for my mind to change, but that is a early indicator of how they can be. And of course, even if they lose that game, they can be a different team by the end of the season, just like what happened last year. But when it comes to schedule discourse, a lot of strength of schedule is used in ranking them. But last year, I felt like some of them weren't maybe as accurate because some of the teams at the bottom of the SEC might have been a little overrated in terms of what they were as football teams and how hard their schedules actually are. Because Missouri gets a really good break in their SEC schedule.
Yeah, but the thing about strength of schedule is that it feels like it can only be truly recognized as a true analytic is in reverse. Mm-hmm. Because last year, if we were doing this same poll and you were looking at Georgia Tech's strength of schedule, I'm sure they got a lot of bonus points for playing Florida State, a team coming off an undefeated season. But when we found out, Florida State was terrible.
Yep.
At the end of the year. So I do appreciate the metric for giving us a frame of reference, but we're not really going to figure this out till the end of the year.
Which I will definitely revisit this. The closer we get to playoff selection time, we will absolutely revisit strength of schedule, and Preston will continue his fight against the machine. There's one machine in college football historically. That would be Alabama. And they're one of 4 teams predicted to finish ahead of South Carolina this year. But Thomas Castellanos, not afraid of them by any means. Is this foolish or is this brave? We'll discuss when that early game continues. One of the many exciting games to kick off the season, Florida State and Alabama. And there's a lot of juice to this one, not because it's a good helmet game. Florida State and Alabama, two traditionally really good college football programs. If anything, the football part of that this year might not be as intriguing because of what happened to Florida State last year and what happened to Alabama to end the season and the question mark at quarterback they have coming back. But Thomas Castellanos made sure to make this really intriguing. Jen, cut number 3 from on today's list. Thomas Castellanos earlier the year talked about how badly he wants to beat Bama and that Nick Saban's not there. He can't save him anymore. At ACC Media Days, he was asked about those comments, and he doubled down.
Doug said some things differently?
Most definitely, but I stand on what I said. Well, we stand on what I said. So I said what I said. We stand on that, and I don't mean no disrespect to none of those guys at Alabama or anything like that. It's just I have confidence in my guys and the work that we've been putting in and preparing and the preparation we've been putting together. So that's all that was. I just no disrespect to those guys, but we stand on what I said.
No disrespect, but we stand on what I said. Preston Thorne, you hear that? How confident can you detect his doubling down?
Yeah, you don't have to do that, Thomas. Mean it. If they take it, you could just say, hey, man, take it how you take it. Whatever. We stand on what we stand on. You can't stand on something and say, I know disrespect.
You're standing on it with one leg.
Yeah, you can't do that. Stand on it. Stand on it and say, hey, man, this is what it is. You take it how you want to take it, but I said what I said. And I can appreciate that. Though we don't understand where Florida State is coming from, where he's coming from. Yes, he was good at Boston College before he, as I pointed out earlier, left the team early after being benched. So he does have some question marks in his past.
Some baggage.
There is some baggage there. We'll see. A lot of question marks for Florida State. I will say this, though. Bama needs to get that game.
Yeah, they absolutely do.
Right?
Kalen DeBoer needs to have that game.
Kalen needs that game. And I don't have the linebacker's name with me, but no matter if you can't, just because you say no disrespect doesn't mean that I don't take disrespect. And I believe the linebacker said all disrespect will be handled accordingly.
Deontay Lawson.
So, Mr. Lawson has filed it in the disrespect calendar. He's good.
And I don't think Deontay is going to unbookmark that, like on Twitter. I think he's got it bookmarked, and I think he's got it bookmarked for a reason. He's going to revisit the bookmark.
And those were the exact words. All disrespect will be handled accordingly. So he feels very formal in that he's stated this, and this is something that he's very serious about.
From a just football culture standpoint, this game would be how we know if Alabama's really back. Because historically speaking, if you summon the words, it's almost like, when you're a kid and you're told that if you say Bloody Mary in the mirror 3 times that this apparition of a woman is going to appear, or Candyman. It's the real version of that is saying we want Bama 3 times in a football stadium and Alabama will appear and beat you by 40, right? Like that's how that has historically gone. Florida State just summoned the we want Bama. Now, if Alabama goes to Tallahassee and beats them over the head with a bag of quarters a bag of hammers for 4 quarters, mix that up. But if they do that and they execute it better than what I just said, then Alabama can be back. They certainly can be back at that point, because then it's, okay, old Alabama, Nick Saban used to handle disrespect accordingly, and they took everything as disrespect. Everything. So if they're able to do that, then maybe I could see Alabama being back to their old ways. Still, obviously, a lot has to happen. 11 more games after that, and I still need to see something from Ty Simpson. But I could see them being a little back if they're able to go in there and really handle Florida State the way they should handle Florida State.
Yeah, calling out, but calling out this Bama is not the same as calling out that Bama. It's not the same.
And that's why this is big. That's why. Because you got to make it the same. If you're Alabama, you have to make it the same. You can't have this low-hanging fruit of Nick Saban's not here to save you anymore, right? Like, this is a new era. Kalen DeBoer can't have that either. Really, just like from an ego standpoint, Kalen DeBoer can't have opponents just calling him out like that. And it really doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things, no. But history has told us that if you summon Alabama, you will almost always regret your wish. We want Bama was usually was, I don't know, an eerie foreshadowing, a bit of like literary irony that you didn't want to see the repercussions of.
We'll come back and revisit this because there is that we have to, and we have to play the classic clip of the Vanderbilt offensive lineman.
Oh man, that poor guy
saying that they wanted Bama and it didn't go well. Jenna, clip on the way
because I think they started off like 3-0. And they won a couple of like good games. They looked good in that process, especially for what the groundwork of Vanderbilt is. They won a few games early. Alabama was coming in to Nashville, and that game was going to be on CBS. That was the SEC game of the week. They said they wanted Bama, and Tua Tagovailoa, an unknown backup at the time, played the entire second half because they won by almost 60 points. But speaking of Alabama, they are one of those 4 teams predicted to finish ahead of South Carolina this year. Are any of those teams that are ahead of South Carolina in the preseason poll a smidge overrated going into 2025? We'll answer that and have your responses to kick off hour number 2 of the early game.
Pressing here for our friends at Absolute Glass, the premier glass company of the Midlands, offering auto, home, and business glass repair. So if your glass is damaged, shattered, cracked, or broken, they can handle the job. If it's a cracked windshield, that's no problem. They'll come out to your location and they'll replace it for you, usually for free, and they'll work directly with the insurance to take away the headache. They'll come out to wherever you are, school, home, work, it does not matter. Absolute Glass will come out to where you are and take care of the job. Now, if you're at home looking to increase the value of your home, you can do that with new windows and mirrors. And Absolute Glass will take care of that for you, too. Windows, mirrors, shower enclosures. I say it all the time. If you can see through it, Ray and Marianne at Absolute Glass can do it. So check them out online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com. That's online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com.
I-26 eastbound near the Lexington County Calhoun line. There is an accident there. Also, I-77 southbound at Shop Road. Leesburg Road at Fairmont Drive. Also a report of a tie-up. Gonna look for a high today of about 91. Could see a few afternoon storms today. 96 tomorrow under sunny skies, and then it'll be sunny throughout the weekend and into really through about Monday. but our highs will be about 100 or 101. And, of course, those heat indices could be as high as 109. So we'll enjoy this morning. 76 currently, 107.5 The Game.
Hour number 2 of the early game starts right now. I'm Elijah Campbell. He's Preston Thorne. She's Jen Jensen behind the glass. And we've been talking schedules today. My man LSU Tim on the line right now wants to talk season opener and strength of schedule. Fresh off Preston going toe-to-toe with the metric earlier in the first hour. Tim, good morning. Thanks for tuning into the early game.
All right, good morning. I just want to say this. If LSU loses to Clemson, I know it's on the road, Brian Kelly cannot lose another game because there's already rumors from the LSU base that Saban's coming back to LSU to complete his career. I don't think anybody really wants that in college football outside of LSU fans.
Right. And I don't think anybody's going to bank on that happening either. I think Miss Terry likes Nick where he is, personally.
Yeah, I know, but I get that. But I mean, there's the thing. And a side note, I'm glad that Carolina's given Shane Beamer time to build his program. Because I thought when they hired him, I was like, this is a guy that wants to be there. He's not trying to pick on anybody, Holtz or Spurrier. They were just kind of filling in. I was like, this guy really wants to be there. He can build this program if they give him time.
Yeah, certainly. I agree with that. Thank you for the call, Tim. Appreciate it, man. Definitely for this job, you need somebody who wants to be here and wants to build it into something that it hasn't been. And I think the mentality that Shane has is perfect for the job. But revisiting the LSU thing, that's another reason why I think LSU is going to be desperate going into that game on October 11th, is because they're going to need a marquee win. And that crowd is going to be pretty big. And if they lose that game and they have 2 losses before October 12th, it's going to get ugly in Baton Rouge. Real ugly.
LSU, Tim, appreciate you listening. And any other people that are out there from any other fan bases, we appreciate your perspective, because sometimes we get locked in with our garnet goggles, and it's often good to hear from what other fan bases are thinking in regards to the team. But that does make a lot of sense about Brian Kelly, because the deal. I've been on record saying this over and over again. Brian Kelly is he's an excellent coach.
He's a very good coach.
He's an excellent coach. But the deal with him is that the only thing that you gravitate about him is that he wins. And if he's not winning, then why are we here? And so with LSU having a history of winning, also being able to discard coaches very quickly, you right?
Yep.
Les Miles, let me take that back. Coaches get rid of themselves.
Yes.
Les Miles and Ed Orgeron were both wilding, to say it mildly.
Coach O especially.
Yeah.
Yes.
But they have no problem disassociating themselves with the coach. So Brian Kelly, they don't love you. You have no real tie to the region except for the fact that you win. So if you're not doing that, why are we here? So I do think that's something to pay attention to.
Here's a wild thing about LSU and season openers. Brian Kelly specifically. This is his 4th year at LSU. First year, season opener, lost to Florida State in the Superdome because of a blocked extra point. The next year they play Florida State again, return game, but that one was in Orlando at Camping World Stadium. Lost 45-24. Ended not being close late. And then last year, Southern Cal beat them 27-20 in Vegas. Brian Kelly's 0-3 in season openers. Now, if we want to take it back a little further, before Brian Kelly, there were 2 more years in the 2020s where LSU had season openers. 2021, they went to UCLA, lost 38-27. And then in 2020, that was the Mike Leach SEC debut where they threw for over 500 yards, put up 44 points, and beat LSU by 10. LSU has not won a season opener this decade. I will say that again. LSU has not won a season opener in this decade. Since 2020, which for a lot of us feels like ages ago, they have yet to start a season 1-0.
Noted.
If they lose to Clemson, there will be hell to pay, which is a really tough pressure game considering I think everybody that keeps up with college football knows exactly what Clemson's bringing back, which is 75% of their roster on a team that went to the college football playoff last year, and you got to go to Clemson to play. That's a tough game in general. And there's also way more pressure on that first game on LSU than maybe anybody's got in college football in week 1.
And also with Clemson, we unfortunately, or fortunately, however you want to look at it, they know they can respond to losing week 1. They lost week 1, got beat them down to Georgia last year, and we're still able to respond throughout the rest of the year. But I don't think that's the expectation for the year. You got me reconsidering whether or not that's a coin flip game or not. What do you have a line on that, Clemson versus LSU?
Clemson versus LSU, I can pull that up here on ESPN Bet just by having the schedule up here. My guess would be Clemson by 4.5, but right now it is Clemson by 3.5 officially.
Okay.
But that leads me to this. LSU is the perfect segue into this because a couple days ago we had a poll question, our poll question of the day at 1075 The Game on Twitter. Out of the 4 teams picked ahead of South Carolina in the preseason SEC Media Days poll, which one do you consider to be overrated? Texas, Georgia, LSU, Alabama. Preston, would I take a guess as to who Gamecock Nation put the overrated tag on the teams ahead of South Carolina?
Bama.
You say Bama. Jen, if you had to guess, who do you think Gamecock fans think would be the most overrated of that bunch?
Honestly, my first thought was Alabama just because of, what's going on right now with the team.
And you guys would be correct. 45% say Alabama is the overrated one of the group. In a close second, 35 say LSU. 14.
Really?
Yeah, 35. It was 45-35, Bama and LSU. So that one was pretty close. And then kind of more distantly is Texas at 14%, Georgia at 6%.
You know how I've said how I evaluate these teams. It's preseason.
Yeah.
Coach, quarterback.
Yep.
What does that look like? Well, Alabama, I think they have question marks at both.
Yep.
Kalen DeBoer was a good coach previous to coming in to the SEC.
Took the hardest job
took a tough job.
Yeah.
I do think he's won at every single level, something I always look for, but he hasn't proven himself to be the ultimate winner at the SEC yet. So I think there's a question mark
and the
there.
biggest shoes you could ever have to fill.
Right.
I mean,
right.
Shaq size.
He won't ever be that. It's just not going to happen.
No.
And then the quarterback situation. Todd Simpson, I get it. I know he's won the job. He's been there for a long time, but I didn't feel a lot of excitement in everybody from him winning that particular job. So I think there's a question mark there. Using that same system, there's no question mark with LSU for me. I think Garrett Nussmeier is very, very good. Mm-hmm. Brian Kelly's excellent. So I don't think they're overrated. They just haven't ever gotten it done yet.
Yeah. Their question marks loom outside of the coach and quarterback room. It looms in, are you replacing all those starters on the offensive line, including a left tackle who was taken in the top 5 of the NFL draft? And can your defense stop a nosebleed? Because they haven't been able to the last couple of years. Teams have just been able to run up and down the field on them. Like, they don't even have to be great. If LSU's defense just holds opponents to under 21 points a game, I like their chances of making the college football playoff. But that has been just a Herculean task for them since Brian Kelly's been there. But then another one, Georgia. Would you make Georgia pass, I guess, your test of coach and quarterback with Kirby Smart and Gunnar Stockton?
1-1. Kirby obviously is certified.
Yep,
Gunnar, I'm not sure yet. We're more familiar in this fan base with Gunnar because he was committed here. We thought he was going to be the savior. He ended up leaving with Bobo, and so he ends up going to Georgia. When he came in and played last year, to use Steve Spurrier's logic, Nobody was thrilled with Carson Beck last year at Georgia.
Yeah, he regressed.
He regressed. He wasn't as good as he had been, but yet nobody was clamoring to put Gunnar Stockton in. And when they did put him in, he was okay, but I'm not sure he was dynamic enough to make a difference. So I'll say a question mark on that quarterback spot also.
And then Steve Sarkisian, Arch Manning.
Sark, obviously one of the best play calls in college football. I think Arch Manning is good. I think he's going to be good. I'm not sure if he's
great.
Not their savior either.
Right. Mm-hmm. But I think he's better than Gunnar Stockton. I think if I'm looking just at this list right here, I think he's the third best quarterback behind Lenoris and Garrett.
Okay. And I think that's
just
fair.
Based on what they've proven on the field.
He can certainly look the part, and it's going to be whether or not he can do it for an entire season. But the thing with Arch Manning, too, that he has a luxury of, that maybe some of the other quarterbacks don't have a luxury of, is he doesn't have to be great. Like Quinn Ewers wasn't great last year. He was solid for the entire season, and there's still an incredibly healthy offense that functioned at a very high level because Quinn was at least a good rule follower until the end of the year, wasn't putting the ball in harm's way. Now, he certainly did later in the season.
So to put this same thing to the test, and this is where we have to be honest, and we have to do a really strong self-assessment. If we're doing coach and quarterback, I know what we think here with our Garnet goggles on.
Yes.
But a couple of preseason polls, a couple of articles have stated that if we're doing the coach and quarterback thing, nationally, Shane Beamer is not thought of as a certified coach. We've seen the hype train been building.
Uh-huh.
But nationally, there is a question mark at coach the way Shane is perceived.
We don't have a LaShane train.
Nah, not really. not that was a good one. Not really though. So what's that? What do you think that is, and why do you think that is?
I think if we put it on a sliding scale of because we have various degrees of check marks, right? If you have from 1 to 5 check marks on that list, Kirby's all 5. Brian Kelly's probably at a 4.5. He just hasn't done what Kirby's done and won a national title. Steve Sarkisian's probably at a 4, maybe a 4.5 too. I mean, he's got the moniker as probably the best play caller in football, but hasn't gotten his team to a national championship game yet. And then you have Kalen DeBoer, who did a lot of great things at other places, but the other places he's been to, Washington, Fresno State, NAIA level schools, don't have the same expectations as Alabama, and he underachieved in that first year. So you'd probably maybe put 2 check marks because there's still a lot to be seen. Shane's probably in that 2 to 3 nationally check mark area. I think he proved himself last year to be able to get a team and get more out of players than what was expected. Because I don't think anybody thought Demetrius Knight would be the impact player he was outside of that football facility. Same thing could be said about Kyle Kennard and a couple of other transfers that he's brought in, right? And if you even take the 23 year, yes, 23 was a failure by going 5-7, but you got more out of Mario Anderson in a D2 transfer than you thought you would get. And you turned a Yale transfer, Nick Gargiulo, into at least a player that was looked at to being good enough to be drafted in the NFL. So there's some player development stuff that I think gives Shane Beamer that cachet, but I don't think it's anywhere near what maybe a lot of the top guys in this league are because this is also Shane's first coaching job.
So out of those 5 guys, Sark, Kirby, Kalen, Brian Kelly, Shane, nationally, most people would rank Shane 5th and out of that group.
And a lot of those guys have previous histories head coaching at other schools that help with that. Brian Kelly especially. A lot of that reputation comes from him winning at Central Michigan, taking Cincinnati to a Sugar Bowl before leaving, before the game, and then going to Notre Dame and taking them to a national championship game before leaving, before they had a chance to maybe be in the 4-team college football playoff.
I mean, he really does have a history of being just kind of a little pork chop, doesn't he?
Yeah.
That's the thing.
You know what the B in Brian Kelly stands for? Balin.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That's the thing.
Good point.
He's a great coach, but
no one makes like a chip and dip quite like Brian Kelly sometimes.
I like that.
If he's ready to take another job, he does not care when. He will do it.
See ya.
Yeah, he has no qualms with putting up the deuces and getting out of town. So, interesting question. If you think any one of those teams are overrated, or if you think maybe any of the teams outside of that top 5 are maybe a little more overrated, your A&Ms, any team like that, hit us up, 803-404-6100, Firehouse Subs text line, or the AAA Heating and Air phone line. But we want to revisit something. Not even revisit something, because we have some takes on this. Because Kurt Cignetti did take a shot at the SEC schedules this week during media days. But we're going to hone in on whether or not he makes a point, or are we still going to put the smoke ducker moniker on him? We'll discuss that next on the early game. Look, I can make fun of Kurt Cignetti ducking Virginia and avoiding that football game, but Zero Res will never avoid the challenge of cleaning your home and giving your home the safest clean imaginable, because they use no harsh chemicals. That clean is safe for your family and your pets. And for this summer, and the summer's going by fast, so take advantage of this. There's not much longer left. It's flying by. But they offer this summer sale once a year. 15% off carpet, air ducts, area rugs, upholstery, tile and grout. Again, 15% off. All you got to do is tell them Elijah Campbell, 1075 The Game sent you, and you can get 15% off. Again, carpet, air ducts, area rugs, upholstery, tile and grout, and more. Do it while it still lasts. Get that patented cleaning process, again, that is safe for you, the family, the pets. Schedule online, ZeroResColumbia.com. Zero-Res, spell it backwards or forwards. It's the right way to clean.
Still working on a layer tie-up, Leesburg Road at Fairmont Drive. Also have a report of an accident, I-77 southbound right there at mile marker 4. And going to want to get left because the right lane is currently blocked. And right there at the county line of Lexington, Calhoun County line, I-26 eastbound, an accident there. 91, that's what we're looking for today. That's going to seem cool when we start anticipating the next few days. 91, chance for some afternoon or evening thunderstorms possibility. 96 tomorrow. And then by Saturday, we start the stretch of 100-degree days with heat indexes that could be reaching 109. So it's a cool 76 right now on the early game.
All right. Kurt Cignetti, maybe public enemy number one in SEC country, because he said his scheduling method of ducking Virginia and replacing them with teams like Kennesaw State and Austin Peay is an SEC model. We are adopting the SEC model. Preston, you have thoughts on
I think this is going to lead to our first sighting, our first edition of
And Another Thing.
And Another Thing is the segment where we might have covered something in the previous days, and we just don't feel like we might have gotten to it all, because yesterday, as we left the building, there were still texts flying between Elijah and I about Kurt Cignetti and his recent talks. Now, if you don't know who Kurt Cignetti is, he's the coach of Indiana.
Google.
He's famous for this quote here, Gen 13. He's famous for this right here.
How do you, is there a...
It's pretty simple. I win. Google me.
And so, Elijah, you have the floor. This is Elijah's first edition of
And Another Thing.
See, this is good, because sometimes I'm one of those, I'll get in arguments with people, and I'll leave the argument, and I'll think of something that was a real zinger about like 20 minutes later, and I'm like, oh, I wish I could have used that. But yeah, so here's the funny thing about Kurt Cignetti. If we want to use Google here, let's apply the logic that Kurt Cignetti gave us in his opening press conference. I win, Google me. He also says, I'm adopting the SEC scheduling model. So let's look at the SEC scheduling model. And let's start by week 1 of the college football season. We don't have to get very far before we see Auburn playing at Baylor on Friday before the season starts, 8 p.m. on Fox, primetime, true road game, and a game that Hugh Freeze really has to have. It could have been easy for Auburn to schedule Alabama A&M or Alcorn State because Steve McNair's not there anymore. They could have easily done that. They could have also scheduled Austin Peay. That's not too far away from Auburn, Alabama. But they decided to start the season at Baylor and really test themselves. I appreciate that. I applaud that. We can even take it to a more minor scale. One of the first games that's kicking off on Saturday, August 30th, is Mississippi State at Southern Miss. Southern Miss isn't a world beater, but they have a new coach, and they're scheduling the game at Southern Miss. There are not many SEC teams, even Power 4 teams, that schedule road games against their G6 opponents. They at least did that. Bare minimum. It's still not a P4 game, but they at least did it on the road. It is a true road game. Tennessee scheduled Syracuse, team that went 9-3 last year. Yes, they are missing a lot, but you didn't know that they would be missing a lot. A lot of players opted to either leave or go to the NFL draft. That was a 9-3 Syracuse team last year. That's a good test. Texas is playing the team that beat them in the college football playoff last year on the road. I think that's a pretty tough game. LSU's playing a team that went to the college football playoff last year in Clemson, starting their season again on the road. And if we just want to use the precedent for LSU, last year they played Southern Cal, neutral site game. They played Florida State, neutral site game. Florida State, neutral site game. Before that, 2021, at UCLA. And then, of course, in 2020, it started with Mississippi State, but that's because everybody played conference-only schedules. I could even go further. South Carolina, no, don't even have to look even further out of the station here. Playing Virginia Tech, Power 4 game at a neutral site. So when it comes to saying, oh, well, we're just going to adopt the SEC scheduling model, just because SEC teams will play an FCS team on their schedule doesn't mean the SEC model is solely scheduling FCS games. I see what Kurt Cignetti says with that part right there, but I don't see Kurt Cignetti going out of his way to schedule LSU. He would never schedule Clemson. If he's too scared of Virginia, he's definitely not scheduling Virginia Tech.
Kurt Cignetti hears you, and he has this rebut.
When you sign up for this job, do you ever think you talk about the schedule this much?
I really don't talk about it. I do read about it.
Someone else does.
What do you want to know?
Yeah. Oh, nothing. I loved your quote earlier. It was awesome. You're exactly right. But it's one of those things about the job. I just don't think, you ever thought you'd get here where scheduling questions would be brought to your direction.
Yeah. Well, we were never relevant before. Now we are. So everybody's got an eye on us.
Yeah.
When you break through the status quo and you knock a couple people out of the status quo, they don't like that. Yeah.
One thing Kurt Cignetti probably didn't realize, you're relevant now, but know what that means too? The words you say previously will be used against you in the court of public law and opinion. Like, I win, Google me. That's brash. That's bold. I love it. But you can't have that brashness and boldness and be too scared to play Virginia.
Right.
You can't. You can't talk like that and then say, Virginia, that's too hard. I'd rather play Austin Peay. I'd rather play Kennesaw State. Own it at that point.
And just as a note for the first 3 games of Indiana's season this year, ODU, Kennesaw State, and Indiana State.
I mean, come on.
I mean, to his credit, scheduling Indiana State, smart call, because I don't know who on their team can guard Larry Bird.
Hey.
Who's going to guard Larry?
I mean, they're a bunch of sycamores.
I mean.
Nice.
I mean, that's a bunch of tall trees.
Yeah.
To their credit. Oh, wait, we're talking football.
Yeah.
They're not, So I don't know, man. When it comes to Kurt Cignetti, I loved his attitude coming from James Madison, where he did a whole lot of winning. I loved the attitude that it takes. You need that type of attitude to go to a place like Indiana and win and make it to where we're at least talking Indiana football. To his credit, we're talking about Indiana football because of Kurt Cignetti. But don't give me this persona and be too scared to play Virginia. If you are as confident in your team as you talk like you are, Virginia shouldn't be a problem. Because what you tell me and what you do are two completely different things.
And then there's a punchability factor that you have where you just kind of want to smack them upside the head.
He's building it a little bit.
He's absolutely building it.
Yeah.
And look, don't tell me that you're not afraid of anybody and then do something different. Don't tell me you're confident in your team, that you have one of the best teams in the country, and schedule like you're somebody who's rebuilding.
He's a keyboard warrior. You got these people online who say all this really tough stuff, and they've got all these opinions, but it's behind a keyboard. You don't see them actually out front, making those same comments.
Because if my coach was telling me that they feel really good about their team this year, and they're not afraid to play anybody, and they schedule like they do, then I believe you.
Mm-hmm.
But if you tell me that all you do is win, that you're not actually ducking teams, that the schedule talk is just because you made Indiana relevant, then why are you afraid of playing a Virginia program where Matt Schaub ain't walking through that door?
Well, that was Elijah's first edition of
And Another Thing.
Congratulations, sir. I'm sure we'll be back here very often. You feel better now?
I like that.
All right, good.
I like that.
Good.
I just hate that I have to heel turn on somebody I really liked this time last year.
It's okay.
But you know what? He might pull me back in. Maybe he gets a wild hair and they end up beating somebody who's ranked next year.
That's what makes it all fun.
And if he does, then I'll take the L. But as good as Indiana was last year, they ain't beating Penn State or Ohio State this year. Feel pretty comfortable about that one. Ooh, I'll take a break. I'll take a breather. But Preston has some media day takes.
Give me the ball. Give me the ball.
He's calling for an ISO.
Give me the ball.
Because Big Ten media days this week, ACC media days this week, SEC kicked everything off last week, and Preston has some thoughts. So Preston's going to go one-on-one with the SEC. He's ISO Joe Johnson. He's getting the ball in space. We're going to let Preston do some magic next on the early game. Some people can describe Indiana's football schedule as mid, but I can tell you there is nothing mid about Mid-State Roofing because for nearly 30 years now, Mid-State Roofing has been a leader in the roofing and waterproofing industry, and the results speak for themselves. And the versatility is like no other two because they can do from high-rise to hospitals, the job can be manufacturing to industrial. It really doesn't matter because Mid-State Roofing is keeping your operation dry and running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And they always have somebody available to talk to you because even if you have a call after hours, you can still take or talk to a technician, or during hours, you can talk to a Mid-State Roofing member. 803-356-1919. Again, 803-356-1919. Or you can hit them up online at midstateroofing.com. And just remember, if you have a leak, let Mid-State Roofing take a peek.
I-77 southbound at mile marker 4, kind of over the Congaree River. There's that accident there. Also, Leesburg Road at Fairmont Drive. And Old Dunbar Road between Edmond Highway and Charleston Highway. There is a report of an accident kind of right there at Creekside. So be mindful of that as well. 91, that's going to be our high. And one of those pop-up showers could pop up. That's pretty brilliant there. Might be happening later this afternoon or this evening. So again, 91 for the high. Tomorrow, 96, sunny, and then sunny over the weekend. Highs around 100 or a little more with pretty significant heat indexes. But 76 currently on 107.5, The Game.
All right. It's time for Preston to get out on the high post.
I'm open.
Dropping the ball. We're going to play early 2000s basketball.
Yeah, I like it.
He's got the ball. Other four dudes, clear out of the way because Preston Thorne is Tracy McGrady, and we're going to let him do his work.
You know what? I like Barkley.
Oh, you want?
I just want to straight back you down from the 3-point line.
You want to bring them down.
Yep. Just straight.
To tough man's land.
Straight up and down. Listen, man.
Rules.
Here's the deal. We are in the middle of media days. All the other conferences are having the media days. The SEC set it off. The SEC is the best football conference. I am an SEC homer. The SEC has the best athletes, has the best stadiums, has the best institutes, all of that. SEC is boring.
Boring.
It's the best. Great product. SEC is boring. We tried for a week to do SEC. You went to SEC media
I was there.
days. You were there. Nothing happened. There were minimal interesting quotes.
We tried to make the Nick Saban thing happen. That was the biggest thing that came out of media days, was that a dude who had previously retired may be coming back. Not a dude, the GOAT. I get it.
Do you know that I did hear that the Little Debbie stock went down that week?
Oh, no.
Because people from Alabama fans would go to SEC media days and heap upon him those oatmeal cream pies.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Even
they really did.
Even when you think about that, SEC created the idea of media days when it was in Birmingham, and people used to show up with the uniforms on and the costumes, and it was a thing.
Oh, there's Shannon the ring hat guy, and people painted their dogs. Yeah, for Auburn. Yep.
So much fun. And now on Digital Drive.
Yeah.
Hate that. Still don't like that.
Right? Now on Digital Drive, it is very efficient. It's very businesslike. It's very sanitized. It's very corporate.
It's not radio.
It's very boring.
Yeah.
And as I'm listening to these other conferences have their media days, I'm hearing coaches say things. Coaches say interesting things.
Unfiltered.
You have Signet, you have Sigs going off. You have, even before that, we had the Big 12 with Gundy was going off. You have Dion saying things. In the SEC, we've pigeonholed ourselves into being the most buttoned up corporate conference. And that is not who we are.
No.
That's a great point.
We are chasing the money. We're making more money than anybody else. We have the best product. We put the best games on. But we are very close to getting dangerously boring. We have no personalities. I was just looking at this. Back in in the year 2000, listen to this lineup of SEC coaches. Spurrier.
Classic. Quote machine.
Fulmer.
The Great Pumpkin.
See? Saban.
No introduction needed.
Cutcliffe, the professor.
Yes.
Hal Mummy.
Oh, man, the innovator.
Lou Holtz. These dudes were going to say something, and something was going to be interesting about them. Now when I look at the SEC, is there anybody interested? Shane has glimpses of, but Shane's growing up, and I don't know if I like it. Shane's growing up, and I don't know if I like it. But if everybody else besides Drink, Boring Billy, are you picking up what I'm putting down here?
Yeah.
You're sifting through cliches, to find anything from anybody. There was a couple times where, like,
you were there for a whole week.
Yeah.
Did anything happen?
Not really. I mean, only the real football sickos would really enjoy some of, like, what Kirby Smart had to say. But a lot of it's like leadership stuff. Kirby would make a great leadership conference speaker.
I like Kirby.
For what we want in SEC media
I like
days.
Kirby unmiked. I like Kirby. I like Kirby without the bleeps. I like Kirby. Kirby is interesting to me. I don't know, man. It just occurred to me because ACC doing their media days. Jen, can we get clip number 4 here? Because this guy is rising rapidly up the quote machine board. Gundy's still my number 1. But if you're listening to this show, my guy Fran Brown from Syracuse is rising up the boards. Here's Fran with a quotable.
I think big people beat little people up. So it's a weight class in boxing, and there's a weight class in wrestling for a reason, right? You can't let the 105 kid play against the 130 kid, because if they go on a fight, what's going to happen? 130 kid eventually just going to wear his butt down, right? So for me, the bigger people we get, we'll be all those teams that was in the playoffs. They were big last year, right? And that's the ending goal, to be able to go and compete in those games. So you got to have big people to be able to play against bigger people to make it an even match.
Big people beat little people up. What a great soundbite.
I love that guy.
What a great quote. And listen, Fran's rising up. Remember last year he doesn't shower after he loses. He had all of these weird quotes.
God, I hope for his wife that they don't go 2-10. Please, for the love of God, do not go 2-10.
Hey, listen, ACC doing their media days. I know we don't like to hear it, but your boy is about to get on the podium and go electric. Dabo.
He does it.
He's going to get up there and say something. We will come back in here the day after. I don't know if he's speaking today or tomorrow. We will come back in here with something that Dabo said. And we can't say that for the coaches in the SEC. So I'm just warning us, we're very close to being the best, but also the most boring conference. And I don't think that's what our DNA is about the SEC.
But when you start the conference with our commissioner blathering on for 45 minutes.
Good point.
I mean, it was so vanilla, so mind-numbing. I mean, there were some good things. There were some very, heartfelt things that he was talking about. Yeah, and some things like that. But for the most part, there was no juice, no jazz, no nothing from him.
He's coordinated.
Yeah.
Greg Sankey is very coordinated.
And maybe that's what we have to be in order to take this rocket ship to the moon and make $1 billion. Maybe that's what has to happen in the process. But there was a time when media days in the SEC, we made this whole thing because we were patently ridiculous about football, and we're close to losing that.
Does it really mean more now?
It makes more.
There you go.
SEC is going to have to change the tagline to it just makes more.
We make more.
Yeah.
But I will say, there weren't a ton of fans there. Even when Alabama was there, that's probably your biggest day, but it wasn't like I've seen it on TV. It's the second straight year that's happened. I get why it wasn't like that way last year because you were in Dallas. You're further away from the traditional geographical footprint of the league. Mm-hmm. But it being in Atlanta, I figured there'd be more fanfare. Now, there were a couple people. I mean, there was one. I do remember walking into the press conference room while Steve Sarkisian's walking up the stairs to go to Digital Drive. And there was a Texas fan there. There's like 3 or 4 Texas fans there. One of them did yell, "Sark, my mom thinks you're hot." Like that happened.
Okay.
Great.
But that's
cool. That's a highlight.
Yeah, and that's cool. But instead of like 1 to 4 people there was, traditionally 15, 20. It was a bigger crowd.
No people with shoulder pads on or dogs barking.
Nope.
Or none of that.
Nope. Didn't see a single dog.
I'm just warning us. We're going down a path which we may not like.
Yeah, I don't think Preston's ever going to eliminate SEC media days until it gets too boring. But what Preston will do is eliminate teams from his NFL fandom. Now, we don't have any qualifiers today. I'm saving that one for later in the week. But we do have some disqualifiers, and Preston's going to tell you what those disqualifiers are next on the early game. Still in the quest of finding Preston's favorite NFL team, and we're not going to get any more qualifiers today. But there have been some things that Preston will see as disqualifiers, which is good to have, whether you're picking a favorite NFL team or a romantic interest. Sometimes there are things that give you what the kids call the ick, and they become instant disqualifiers.
I like it.
And
wait. We might have to explain. What is the ick?
The ick is when somebody does something, whether it's like on a first date, it could be like a personality trait, it could be something they say, maybe the way they eat. I don't know. It could be anything. Everybody's got different icks to them. And if something gives you the ick, it almost serves as an automatic disqualifier for that person. And there are a few teams in the National Football League that will have to go ahead and disqualify because they have certain traits or do certain things that give Preston Thorne the football ick.
Well, I've already eliminated the Titans when their presumable starter quarterback decided that he was going to get a season-ending shoulder surgery a week before the season started.
Ducking preseason competition.
You are out of here, sir. We can come back and revisit Will Levis later. Cowboys, yeah, I just can't do that. Can't do the Cowboys. I understand. I get it. Not going to do that. Bengals, we had a whole long conversation about the Bengals, how they're trying to preserve money. Trey Hendrickson is not in camp. He won't be in camp. That defense will be awful. So bad defenses definitely give me the ick. But today, I am going to formally eliminate another team. And Jen, can we get clip number 12 here to lead into that when and who I'm going to eliminate?
I would say we're still continuing to do that. But it's not just with me, it's with a lot of the guys. I'm not the only one that heard that. You guys aren't the only people that heard that. You know, a lot of people that follow football, that follow the Miami Dolphins, that follow Tyreek, that are fans of his, you know, everyone has seen that. So when you say something like that, you don't just come back from that with, hey, my bad. You know, you got to work that relationship up. You got to build everything up again, and yeah, it's still a work in progress. Not just for me, but for everybody. But you know, like I said, he's working on himself. He's working on the things that he says he wants to get better with and do better on. So that's the first step to me, and so I commend him for doing that.
Miami Dolphins, get out of here. You're done. You're eliminated. Any fans out there, listen, much luck to you. But several things give me the ick. First of all, the coach wears capris. Not feeling that. And he wears sunglasses indoors often.
Bold.
I can't get with that. It was cool. It was fresh. It was ever. The coach gives me the ick. I like Tua as a person. He has his left-handed thing that I think we need to work out with you.
Yeah, I've got a left-handed quarterback bias.
Yeah, so
all the throwing motions look funky to me.
He's left-handed, and he's literally a play away from his career being over.
Yeah.
Not figuratively, as we talk about, but seriously, that could happen. But then what he was talking about in that particular thing, that was Tua Tagovailoa, the quarterback of the Miami Dolphins, talking about Tyreek Hill, who quit last season. No other way to sum it up. He quit in the middle of last season, told the team, I'm done with it. Y'all can handle it. I'm not doing it. Now, here's the thing with Tyreek Hill. I think we can all certifiably say, not a good dude.
Yes.
That's the lightest way to put it.
There's a history.
The lightest way to put it, not a good dude. However, if we decided our fandom on teams not having good dudes, we might not cheer for anybody.
Yeah.
So if we put that aside, him not being a good dude, he also quit on his team last year. So not only is he not a good dude off the field, but then on the field, he's not performing, and he also quit on his team last year. And this is what they're banking their season on. So I don't see that happening, and I don't see I'm blanking on the coach's name.
Mike McDaniel.
I'm blanking on Mike McDaniel being able to be the guy, the leadership guy to pull this together. So I see that falling apart. And so for that reason, Miami Dolphins, get out of here.
A lot of friction in that locker room. And the combination of friction, underperforming on expectation. I think Mike McDaniel, maybe at a different place, could be a good head coach. But I'm still maybe leaning towards he's a perfect offensive coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not the right executive for a team to make that step. Because I find him to be very interesting.
Yes.
And I do find him to be a really smart offensive mind. They run a lot of really creative stuff.
Yes.
Very modern in how they do it. But the way the team's constructed, look, Tua might end up being one of the bigger what ifs in the NFL in our lifetime, because I truly believe, despite how I feel about his throwing motion, mostly because it's probably just because he's left-handed. I will fully admit that I could just chalk it up to that. Could have been a really good NFL quarterback. The injuries, I don't love watching the Dolphins play. I don't love watching him play because I get scared when I watch him play now.
That's true.
I have genuine concern over his well-being. And Tyreek Hill also just an incredibly difficult person to cheer for.
Yeah, man. The gymnastics you have to go through to cheer for, again, a certifiably not good dude by almost any measure. But then if you just put that aside and just say, well, I don't care about that. I'm just focused on football. Well, he's not doing that either.
Yeah, he's bailing on the team.
So they're out of here.
Yeah. So the Miami Dolphins officially disqualified from Preston Thorne's fandom. Hour number 2 is in the books. A whole lot in hour 3. We're going to revisit the coin flip discussion. We're going to talk about overrated SEC teams and, of course, the Corley Pool Solutions Checker Flag Challenge. That is today, and that's in the next hour.
Hey, it's Jen for Carolina Stone Craftsman, just outside Columbia in Chapin. And we updated a couple bathrooms in our house, and we needed some countertops. So, of course, we went to Carolina Stone Craftsman, a family-owned business, and they take you through the process from customer idea to fabrication to installation. Every step of that process was meticulous. It started out by visiting their showroom, which I have to tell you is absolutely incredible. And I'm going back up there later this week to take a look at their outdoor showroom. I've seen that in progress, and it is fabulous. All the different landscape or hardscape things that they can do for you, outdoor kitchens and such. Can't wait to tell you more about that. But if you are looking for countertops for a kitchen or a bath in your home, I do encourage you to reach out to Carolina Stone Craftsman. Tell them Jen Jensen sent you. Family owned and operated. Carolina Stone Craftsman, just beyond Columbia in Chapin and beyond your expectations, I can assure you. CarolinaStoneCraftsman.com. I-126 eastbound at Greystone Boulevard. The right lane is blocked, so make sure you stay left. I-126 eastbound at Greystone Boulevard. Also still working I-77 southbound there at mile marker 4 and Old Dunbar Road at Creekside. So that's kind of between Edmond Highway and Charleston Highway. There is an accident that might slow you down just a little bit. 91 for a high today, and a chance for an afternoon or evening thunderstorm could be popping up. 96 tomorrow under sunny skies. We keep those sunny conditions for the weekend, but that also means we're really going to be getting warm. 100 on Saturday, 101 on Sunday and Monday. You get the drill, and the heat indices of about 109. Still 76 right now.
Hour 3 of the early game starts right now. I'm Elijah Campbell. He's Preston Thorne. She's Jen Jensen behind the glass, making sure we don't get in trouble. And we have takes. We've had takes all day. I'm excited for winners later, Preston Thorne, because I've got a few good ones. I've got a few good ones here. They may or may not have something to do with scheduling.
Okay.
And one of our themes, scheduling is kind of like the theme for the day.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to revisit coin flip games. We did have a call earlier on in the show, kind of asking, how do we determine coin flip games? Great question.
It was a great question. David challenged, and yes. I will appreciate it. Anytime you're listening, if you agree, cool. If you disagree, voice your opinion. It's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always hard to determine the coin flip games, but that's what makes looking at the schedule so much fun, is because you look at it and you think of the games that you have to think through a little bit. We can obviously go through, and I did it even for Virginia Tech, which I think will be a tougher game than maybe the casual college football fan thinks that game will be. It's a challenge there, but I expect South Carolina to win that game. But I go up and down the schedule, and I see plenty of games. I counted 6 where I think they can go either way. I think they could be genuine coin flips. And if you just have an unlucky year, that can be the difference between having 10-2 expectations or 9-3 expectations and being 6-6. It's how you do in those coin flip games. And last year, South Carolina did really well in the games that we would have considered coin flips at the beginning of the season. Your Mizzou's, your Texas A&M's, Kentucky, I think we considered to be a coin flip game at the beginning of the year. I know I considered that game to be a coin flip game.
At the beginning of the year,
At the beginning of the season. I thought Clemson could be a coin flip game by the time you got to the end if you progressed along the way throughout the year. You did well enough in those games, and it created a really special season. How well you do in those coin flip games can really make or break your outlook for a year. And when we look at the year that is laying ahead of us here in 2025, 6 games pop out to me, and 7 for you, that can make or break the season.
Yeah, we identified, and we were pretty much on the same track with all the games. Mizzou, yes, but we had a discrepancy at LSU.
Yeah.
I determined LSU as a coin flip game. Much of that is based on the idea of if we want to leapfrog into the top tier of the SEC, maybe not a coin flip, but I would say that is a game that maybe for both squads, because you laid out a very good argument, so did LSU Tim. That's going to be a must-win for both squads. And that'll be a huge, huge game, assuming that everybody handles business to that point.
And here's the thing, too. I expect LSU to lose to Clemson in week 1.
You expect that?
I expect that, just because I think Clemson's really good. I love what they have on the defensive line.
And one more time, lay out that LSU opening games.
Ah, yes,
narrative.
LSU
Not
in their opening
stats.
games. Yeah, a stat. They have not won a season opener this decade. The last time LSU won a season opening game, they won the national title in 2019. A lot has changed since 2019. I was starting the last semester of college, Preston Thorne, in 2019. They have not won a season opener since then. They have started 0-1 every year since then. And Brian Kelly, who was brought in to get them back to college football playoff level, to get LSU into the college football playoff, hasn't done it in large part because they start the season 0-1. And this is a really tough game in week 1. A really tough game. They're going to be desperate to win that game. I don't love the matchup as the teams are constructed right now. And there's a really good chance that LSU's trying to fight off loss number 2 by the time South Carolina rolls into town. And realistically, just by looking at the schedule and what LSU has after that, it eases up a little bit. They'll have Louisiana Tech, but they will have to host Florida. That game's at least a home game. Southeastern, I'm not just looking at two different cardinal directions that are on my compass. And then they're at Ole Miss on September 27th. And then they're playing South Carolina coming off of a bye. I think coming off of a bye is pretty significant, too, because you have more time to prepare for that, making a South Carolina loss maybe more inexcusable, according to the LSU fan base.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Southeastern?
Southeastern.
College? University?
I want to say it's university. Now, they do abide by my rule that if you're going to schedule an FCS opponent, you do it in state. And all I know about Southeastern University, it is in the state of Louisiana.
Well, that's more than I knew because now I know that, but I did not know that. Okay, Southeastern. All right.
But if you held a gun to my head and said, where in Louisiana is Southeastern, I will respond with the southeastern part of the state of Louisiana. And I don't know if that would buy me mercy in not having the trigger pulled, or they would do it just out of being insulted. But I could not tell you the town at all, not to save my life. I really couldn't.
That might be ammo in the argument for Siggs. He might be. That's the game he would point to.
That would be the game that he points to.
He'd be like, look what they do.
He would happily ignore the opener at Clemson because they play Southeastern on September 20th after they play Florida. But here's the thing: Florida's really good too. I wouldn't be incredibly stunned if Florida knocked them off, especially if they're still kind of riding a hangover from losing that first game.
So you had LSU as I had LSU as a coin flip. You did not. But on Oklahoma, we flip-flopped.
Yep.
We flip-flopped. I don't think Oklahoma should be a coin flip game. I think we should be better than Oklahoma should be.
Yes.
All preseason.
We're going to preface all of this with should be.
Should be. I don't have a coin flip. You do. Why do you?
I think Oklahoma's going to be greatly improved. I don't know if John Mateer is maybe the overall difference maker that a lot expect him to be, because I still need to see it against really good Power 4 competition. His two worst games last year came against the two Power 4 opponents that Washington State played. Well, I guess the two of the tough ones, right? He did play well against Washington in a rivalry game. But I need to see more from him, but I think he can be good enough. I love that they brought in Jaden Ott from Cal. They have a really good running back room. The offensive line will be healthier because they couldn't have been unhealthier from last year. They kind of had a 23 South Carolina thing where they did not have the same combination of offensive linemen until about week 7 or week 8 in the season. And same thing with their wide receiving core. I don't think the wide receiving core, they're world beaters by any stretch of the imagination, but by virtue of just being healthier, because they couldn't have been unhealthier last year, it'll be improved. And then defensively, they do bring back, losing Danny Stutzman's pretty big, and I'm amped that the Saints drafted him. But they got a lot of really nice pieces back on that defense, and any Brent Venables coach defense is going to have a really high floor. So I think they can come in prepared enough to make it a game. I still think South Carolina wins it, but I think they'd be really prepared to come in here and make it a really interesting matchup.
And by the way, that would be really cool to see those. Talk about helmet games.
That's a good helmet,
seeing those helmets coming into Williams-Brice. That's.
I'm very excited to say that I'll get to cover an Oklahoma game. That's a good name to check off in the list of teams that I've gotten to cover games with.
Bama.
Coin flip.
I agree.
Defense is good. The defense is really good.
I agree. I agree. Defense is really good. Question marks on Todd Simpson. We'll see how that turns out. Now, here's the one where I think you brought up something interesting. Ole Miss.
Big asterisk.
Why?
Don't know who the hell they are. I think Austin Simmons will be really good because I like how Lane Kiffin coaches quarterbacks. He's a really interesting player because he's an interesting human being. This is a guy that graduated high school at 16. He's been at Ole Miss 3 years now. He's 19 years old. He's one of those built in the lab. That article on The Athletic about him, they did a profile on Austin Simmons. Very interesting because Lane Kiffin is compared to his upbringing the same way Todd Marinovich was brought up, which not necessarily the greatest comparison due to what happened in Todd Marinovich's career, but it's that same mold where he was almost built in a lab to be a really good quarterback because his dad has pushed him to do so. And that's been the whole goal of his entire existence, is to be this high-level quarterback. And even though we haven't seen Austin Simmons in a large sample size, we saw him in a drive against the vaunted Georgia defense when Jackson Dart got hurt and had to miss a series, engineer a 70-yard drive that resulted in a touchdown. And if you go back and watch that drive, he did not look intimidated by the moment one bit. Passed the eye test significantly on that drive. I can assume Austin Simmons will be a pretty good quarterback. But when you're Ole Miss and you construct rosters the way they do, heavily transfer laden, the reason they were supposed to be so good last year is because a lot of those transfers were in year 2 at Ole Miss. We have a lot of precedent in the transfer portal era of teams that are highly built from transfers where year 1 is rocky. Like the reason Florida State went 13-0 in the regular season in the ACC title game a couple of years ago, yes, transfer heavy, but a lot of those guys were on year 2 or year 3 at Florida State. Guys like Jordan Travis, Jared Verse, who became a first-round pick in the NFL draft. He's an Albany transfer. That was his second year at Florida State. A lot of those contributors were on year 2. Last year, they had a lot of year 1 contributors. And to say the season fell apart and the team didn't mesh would be the understatement of the season. This is year 1 for a majority of those transfers at Ole Miss. It can mesh really well. They can maybe say they beat LSU or have a win like that underneath their belt and feel really good going into their October and November slates. But as of right now, I'm on high believe it when I see it watch when it comes to Ole Miss.
Texas A&M.
That team might have the best offense and defensive line combination in the SEC.
We have to put the Big N Index on them, see what that looks like.
They ranked pretty well in the Big N Index, but they have a lot. Almost every single returning starter for Texas A&M was a solid contributor last year. Like Texas A&M's strength last year, the offensive line play. That's how they beat LSU the way they did. Marcel Reed played well enough. That offensive line was really good, opened up a lot of holes in the running game, and Le'Veon Moss is coming back. I want to say the entire running back room is coming back. Reuben Owens as well, who's a very good change of pace back for A&M, and the defensive line. Despite losing some players, still a lot of highly touted recruits.
And to be clear, their defensive line dominated our offensive line last year.
Yes.
We just had Superman back there.
Lenora Sellers did Lenora Sellers stuff.
Right. So that's something to think about. But also when you think about Texas A&M, you have to consider what's their psyche at that point in the season.
That's been their big.
They've been known to fold it up when things aren't going well. Now that they did it last year. I do like Elko. That was more of a why am I blanking on the coach? Previous coach.
Oh, Jimbo Fisher.
That was more of a Jimbo thing where the teams would sort of peter out towards the end.
Where they find a way to go 8-4 regardless of what the season
regardless
is.
of what, no matter who they beat, who they lose to, is going to be 8-4, right?
If you talk about matchmaking, find yourself someone that loves you the way A&M loves going 8-4, and you'll be a happy individual.
The last one we both had was Clemson.
Mm-hmm.
You talked about it. I've talked about it. That game has the potential to be maybe the most highly touted game in this series.
Yes.
I mean, without hyperbole, if you're just looking preseason, you have a chance to have maybe the 2 best quarterbacks in the country, 2 teams that are ranked top 10, CFP implications on the line. There could be all types of stuff that could lead into that game. So that's a big one.
Yeah, and I think we can even say right now, just by looking at mock drafts, even this early on, this might be the most NFL talent-laden game in this series in terms of high-end NFL prospect talent. Like, we're talking multiple guys for both. Like, at one point, I've seen, obviously, Lenore Sellers will be a first-round pick. I feel really good about that. I think Jalen Kilgore can. I've seen mocks that have him in the first round. And Todd McShay has Nick Harbor as one of the first receivers off the board. And then you look at what Clemson's got on the defensive line, like TJ Parker and Peter Woods are 2 guys thought of as legit NFL prospects. Cade Klubnik at quarterback.
I saw they had 6 dudes in the first round mock. Now, that's not going to happen, but that is just wild to even consider.
Insane. That is insane. Like Avion Terrell at defensive back, not going to be a first rounder, but will get drafted. He's one of those guys that I feel really good will get drafted. Antonio Williams at wide receiver, Dutch Fork legend. Might not be a first rounder, but will get drafted. Probably in the top 3 rounds, I would guess. That game with having that much talent on the field is and the rivalry history ripe for coin flip game. Even if South Carolina goes in with 2 or 3 losses, I think that one can be absolutely ripe for a coin flip game. And one thing that might determine the coin flips on the schedule, overrated teams. There might be some teams that we're thinking really high of right now. It can be Alabama, Oklahoma, whoever, who might not be as good as what we think they are whenever South Carolina has to play them. We'll discuss who those teams might be, and we'll discuss who you think those teams might be. That's next here on the early game.
I-126 eastbound at Greystone Boulevard still need to stay left in that on that stretch of road to get around an earlier tie-up. Also, I-77 southbound at mile marker 4, getting that cleaned up. And Old Dunbar Road between Edmond Highway and Charleston Highway. So basically along Old Dunbar Road around Creekside, there is a report of an accident. And we're in a cooler day, believe it or not. We're looking for a high today of 91. Might see that afternoon or evening storm pop up. And then tomorrow, 96 will be our high before we get into the hundreds for several days after that. And heat indexes will definitely be a lot hotter. 78 currently, heat index of 80 currently on 107.5 The Game.
All right. From 3 to 6 today, the post-game show. Jay Phillips and Terry Ford. That's me live from the Nest, 1331 Gadsden Street. And maybe they make them cook a little more. I know we had a video last time that we were out there where Terry Ford was cooking. Now, if we're making all of you guys bet, was he actually making food?
No.
Not fooling you guys, huh?
No, I don't think so.
No, not even a little bit.
Not even a little bit. We'll see if they make him do it today. Now, if it was Jay Phillips, yes.
Oh, Jay could do that because I know his mom was an incredible cook, had a cookbook and all of that. So I think Jay learned a few things. But yeah, Terry, he's there to eat.
Mm-hmm.
Terry's a lot better at the eating than the cooking part of it. So maybe they let Jay cook for Terry. I think that's maybe the best case scenario for them.
Terry can clean the dishes.
Right. Put him to work somehow. Right. So that's from 3 to 6 today. We've been talking coin flip games here in the final hour of the early game. And one thing that's going to determine coin flip games, how good the teams on the schedule actually are. And we could say the same thing for South Carolina, but it's fun to maybe call somebody else overrated. If there's a game on the schedule that might be easier than we think right now, then it might not be a coin flip game by the time we get to that point. And a couple of days ago at 107.5 The Game on Twitter, we had a poll question that asked, out of the 4 teams that are ranked ahead of South Carolina, because Carolina was 5th in the SEC Media Days preseason predicted order of finish, which one do you think is overrated? So the teams, obviously, Texas, Georgia, LSU, Alabama. 45% say Alabama. 35% say LSU, both teams on Carolina's schedule. 14% say Texas. Only 6 believe Georgia is overrated. Don't know if there's, I guess, maybe a subliminal bias there for the 2 teams on the schedule, but I certainly think they're in the right place. That if there is a team in that group overrated, I think it probably is Alabama or LSU. Alabama more so because I still have a lot of questions about how good Ty Simpson actually is. And not just Ty Simpson, how good is the running game going to be? Because Alabama has survived years of mediocre quarterback play, but they had a couple of fellas named Mark Ingram and Derrick Henry that won Heismans those years that were good enough to make the offense good and win the national championship.
So the question is, what does Alabama's running game look like? And I guess my bigger question, which will go into another question mark about Alabama overall, is how willing is Kalen DeBoer going to be to play the running game? Obviously, He comes from a West Coast style offense. Everybody spreads the ball out, so that's not a new innovation, but his style of offense is more towards, the things he was doing with Washington, with Penix, deep routes, trying to really stretch the field. Is he willing to, I won't say conform, but mold his game more into the things that we know win in the SEC, which is running the ball?
Especially when you have a really good offensive line. That's the thing about Alabama where I can't expect an incredible fall off because Caden Proctor is one of the best offensive linemen in America at left tackle. Parker Brailsford at center is the same guy who was the starting center on Washington's offensive line in 2023 when not only they went to the national championship game, but that offensive line unit won the Joe Moore Award, which is the unit given to the award given to the best offensive line unit in the country. Fun fact, Army won it this past year. That's pretty cool. But that's a pretty prestigious award. And as a guy who was, I think, a true freshman on that team, as center, winning that award, pretty impressive. They have an awesome offensive line. The offensive line should give that running game opportunity. But we're going to see early on in that Florida State game whether or not Kalen DeBoer and now offensive coordinator Ryan Grubb, who came over from the Seattle Seahawks, can make that running game respectable enough to where Ty Simpson doesn't have to be an all-SEC quarterback as a prerequisite for them to win football games.
Bingo. You said something just now. They need to be able to win without Ty Simpson having to be all-SEC quarterback. And that brings me to my question about us as I look in the mirror. Is all of this, all of our wins predicated on Lenoris Sellers being that guy?
Yes.
Is that a stable enough foundation? Because if I'm looking at this and we ask that same question to everybody else around the country, would they squarely put South Carolina as the most overrated team out of these 5?
Some might. I think some might. Solely because you're asking more of your quarterback than the teams that are in the top 5. LSU's going to ask a lot out of Garrett Nussmeier. So that's a pretty comparable one. And when you have one of the best quarterbacks in the SEC, that kind of comes with the gig of being one of the best, is that you will be relied upon to win your team games by yourself. But Arch Manning's not going to have to win a lot of games for Texas because I think Texas's defense is good enough. I think their running game is definitely good enough.
Gunnar Stockton's not that guy.
I don't think Stockton's that guy. But I don't think people hold that against him in Georgia because for the exact same thing. I mean, they got one of the leading rushers for Illinois last year, a guy who ran for over 100 yards in the bowl game, and Nate Frazier comes back after running for over 1,500 yards as a true freshman. And the offensive line is going to be good as always. Georgia excels in the big uns. They have more big uns than anybody in the SEC, 21 counted. So I think there's a lot of trust there that Gunnar Stockton can do enough for Georgia to be a top 2 team in the SEC. I'm certainly in that camp. But Ty Simpson's one of those, you're going to need him to just be good enough to win you games if your running game is good. And when I look at Alabama's running back room, I like Jam Miller. I don't love Jam Miller as being a Mark Ingram or Derrick Henry type at all. They're going to have to take advantage of a really good offensive line. And if you have running backs in your backfield that can't, explode through gaps, be able to read where the blockers are taking them, then that can be a limited offense if Ty Simpson is not all SEC caliber.
I'm hearing everything you're saying, and all I'm just taking is through the filter that I have is the Gamecock filter. And as you talk about the running back room, which we still don't have settled yet.
No idea.
You talk about the offensive linemen, which we feel like we have the ingredients for, but they have not executed on the field to this point. I wonder what the perception is nationally of South Carolina being this high, because as we look, we know that everybody's on the hype train, right? Yep. We know that thing is rolling. But when we look at various publications, when they list in head coaches, Shane is not listed on the top 30 on several publications, not one, but several.
Yep.
And so I'm wondering what's the national perception of him versus the program versus the player, and how did we get to be that high at number 5?
I think there's a lot of trust nationally in Lenoris Sellers. I think you nailed it earlier.
But heaven forbid he gets hurt, then where are we?
That's a great question.
Oh boy,
that's a great question. I think that's something that we might have to do a whole show on that, because it happened last year.
Mm-hmm.
It's always a distinct possibility, and that's something that I think we do need to address.
We can't hang all our La hopes on La Sellers.
Or in one La basket. All the La eggs can't be put in one La basket.
That's actually very hard to put that La in front of everything. I was kind of struggling with that a little bit. Trying to be clever, and it wasn't working.
But we found a way there. It's a good life, I guess, philosophy. Don't put all your La hopes in a La basket.
Also, Jen, you could just say that, and I could just say la 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 la.
There you go.
I can't hear you. What did you say about Lenoris getting hurt? La 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 la.
Yeah, completely block that from being into the ether. But think about it. I mean, one of your 3 losses last year, I think a bigger factor of it outside of the officiating call, I would rank the officiating call as number 2 in reasons you lost that game. Lenoris Sellers getting hurt was reason number 1 because he was having his way with LSU's defense, and he was on a tear. And that game set him back a little bit, and he wasn't fully 100% whenever it came time to playing Ole Miss. But I think one of the reasons why the fifth place predicted order of finish happened and that you are a lot more recognized is because there is a lot of faith nationally in what Lenora Sellers can do, not just here in Columbia. And that's going to be a real factor. The team will go as far as he can take them. And I don't think that's far-fetched at all. One thing that's definitely not far-fetched is that Preston Thorne is on an absolute heater right now.
He's heating up.
He is heating up. He's predicting winners. In a segment before we give our winners of the show, we're going to try to give winners on the racetrack. Josh Harris, friend of the show, going to join us as well. It's the Corley Pool Solutions Checker Flag Challenge. That's next here on the early game.
They say perfection is a journey. Well, our journey led us to Carolina Stone Craftsman just outside Columbia in Chapin. We had a couple bathrooms. We ended up redoing those, needed some countertops, and it was recommended to head up there and visit Ethan and Rebecca. And I'm telling you what, we couldn't be more thrilled. From the customer idea to the fabrication to the installation, every step of the process was fantastic. We felt home right away, got a chance to tour their showroom, which gives you a lot of different ideas, and you can see the different materials, you can see different sinks and all of that, and they helped us make the decision because we really weren't sure what we were looking for those bathrooms, and they made the process so much easier. Cleaned it up when they were done, and we couldn't be more thrilled. If you're in the market for countertops for your kitchen or bath, reach out to Carolina Stone Craftsman. Tell them Jen Jensen sent you. Family owned and operated. They're Carolina Stone Craftsman. Just beyond Columbia and Chapin and beyond your expectations, carolinastonecraftsman.com. Good news is some earlier tie-ups have been cleared. The only one that we're still watching is I-126 eastbound at Greystone Boulevard. The right lane continues to be blocked, so obviously stay left if you would. We're looking for that high of 91. Afternoon or evening thunderstorms are still a distinct possibility. 96 tomorrow, sunny skies, sunny throughout the weekend with highs around 100, and the heat indexes certainly couldn't be a lot warmer. But right now, 78 on 107.5 The Game.
Ladies and gentlemen, start your engines. It's the Corley Pool Solutions Checkered Flag Challenge. And before we get our man Josh Harris on here, Jen Jensen, I think you are our expert on the track this week. Pretty familiar with the place we're racing at this weekend.
A little bit.
A little bit.
A little bit. Welcoming Josh Harris here. But yeah, I'm I love the track, and I love that they started last year driving back on the oval because they had been doing the road course within the confines of the track for a couple of years. And I think everybody is thrilled. Would you not agree, Josh, that they were happy to kind of have that come back?
Yeah, I think the drivers appreciate the history, of motorsports and, Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and to be able to drive the oval, I think is one of those things that every driver really wants to be able to do. So a lot of your young drivers hadn't had that chance until last year. And, with the additional road courses that we have on the schedule now, I think it was the right time to go back to the oval, put on a good race last year, and I think we're in for a good one again this weekend.
And Josh, I guess what would the scouting report be for this track? Who does this track maybe favor the most out of the field when you look at it?
Well, I think you have to look at teams that have really good speed. The long straightaways, at Indy, without the banking, you've really got to be able to set up your car and then have the straightaway speed. So, it's not the same at all, but I would say the closest comparison for NASCAR is probably Pocono, because the turns there are pretty flat as well. So I think you look at guys that do well there. I think your Gibbs and your Hendrick are probably going to be some of your top teams to look for. So that's kind of what I think what we're going to be in store for.
This is a question for both of my experts. What has been the reception to the 1-versus-1 tournament matchups? That I don't know what's the particular phrasing for it, but the tournament, the in-season tournament, I guess that has been happening. What's been the reception for that?
What are your thoughts, Josh?
Well, I think it's been a cool part of the storyline over the last few weeks. Maybe it hasn't gotten quite the attention outside of maybe the sport that it could have, but I also think that that first race in Atlanta, you had a lot of your top drivers out, which has created a cool opportunity and storyline for guys like Ty Dillon to go from the 32 seed all the way to he's in the finals this week against Ty Gibbs. So certainly from that standpoint, it's created an opportunity for Colleague Racing and Ty Dillon and their team to get probably additional exposure that they may not normally get during this time. I think a lot of learnings from this first go-around with the in-season tournament. I think it's been a good addition, and expect it to come back next year, maybe with some tweaks. But overall, I would say thumbs up for the first go-around.
As I was doing my research, there's a lot of ties. I was Tyler Reddick, Tyler Gibb. I was like, oh, okay, wait, which one? So
right.
I was trying to figure things
kidding.
out, but I'm good.
And we're laughing because it's like, okay, well, no matter what, this in-season challenge is going to end in a tie.
Oh,
yes.
Nice.
So
call it a tie-off.
But yeah, exactly. So it is. I agree. I think it's been interesting the pairings and the matchups. So I think it's just been a little something extra and fun for the summer. And yeah, if Ty Dillon could end up pulling this out, I mean, that would be huge for Colleague. You know, they're not as big of a team. And so that would certainly be great resources for them and everything. But overall, yeah, I think it's been a fun season challenge. When it came to the race at Dover, it didn't really disappoint. You know, had a little bit of rain, wondered if what was going to happen. They got the track cleared pretty easily. You had Elliott, who just dominated. And, of course, being my pick, I'm like, oh, this is great. I'm finally going to get that win. And, you know, Alan Gustafson kind of messed me up a little bit in his choice of pit strategies. So Elliott ended up not finishing. Hamlin ends up getting the win, which set things up for a hat trick for Mr. What's his name? Oh, yeah, Preston Thorne. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's dominating. Is this not impressive, Josh? 3 wins in...
Preston, man, you're on a heater 3 in a row. I mean, obviously, I've only been on the show for the last year and a half, but quite a run you've got going here with SVG, Hamlin.
Yeah.
Pulled yourself all the way up to 3rd place, nipping at Bill's Hills. So, nice job there. We'll see if we can keep it going this week.
Thank you, sir. I really do appreciate it. I'm just sticking to the script.
Yeah.
Sticking to the script.
And I think it would be really just to help you out. Not that I want to help out somebody who I'm competing against. I think SVG is a good bet for this weekend.
Ooh. See,
and she's not talking about Stan Van Gundy.
See, here's the thing. I would have said that, but now that I know a little bit more, this is not a road course, Jen. I know a little bit. I know a little bit more now.
See, I could have done that to Bill, and he would have fallen for it.
I know a little bit more.
Well, I tried. Sorry, Josh. I was trying to, help us out a little bit.
Hey, I'll take any help we can get.
Yeah, SVG is definitely not your. He just needs to get laps. He needs to get time and seat time and on any of these ovals, and that's why when he had a tire issue in Dover early on, that really wasn't helpful for them because obviously they weren't racing to win, but that was just kind of an issue. Real quick, Josh, tell us a little bit about some of the preparations because we're just not that far away from the Southern 500. What's happening for the weekend?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a busy race week again. As always, we'll open up campgrounds on Tuesday. We'll have track laps for charity here on Wednesday night. We're working on finalizing a Thursday evening community event. And then Friday, we've got Truck Series practice and qualifying. We're going to follow that up with a kind of a weekend kickoff party in the fan zone. Saturday, obviously, you got the truck race at high noon. It's going to be a hot, slick one. Opening round of the playoffs for the Truck Series. And then a busy day on Sunday, followed by the Cookout Southern 500. So still working on a few more things that we hope to be able to unveil here in the next couple of weeks that will add to the weekend. Hoping to have some of our former Southern 500 winners around for the weekend that we'll get a chance to, interact with the fans out in the fan zone as well. So still a lot of the final touches coming, but it's looking good. Ticket sales are doing well. 75th anniversary. If you don't have your tickets, get them now before we have another sellout.
That's so exciting. Yeah, it's going to be a great weekend. That anniversary celebration just it's kind of like icing on the cake, but they always do a fabulous weekend. So yeah, DarlingtonRaceway.com, great place to go get your tickets. Is that correct?
That's right. DarlingtonRaceway.com. You can do it on your mobile device, your phone, your app. On the computer, or if you just want to talk to somebody old school, 866-459-RACE.
Outstanding. Well, let's get some picks. We are heading to Indianapolis Speedway, Indiana, to be exact. But for the picks this weekend, I'm in the basement. So right now I'm sitting at 61. Josh is at 69 points. Preston up to 72. Bill at 76. And Reggie at 78, which means I have the first pick. And you know what? Somebody who has logged a ton of laps in a couple different iterations of cars, both in the IndyCar, and he won last year. I'm going to try to go with the basics. Kyle Larson for my pick. So that would take us to.
All right. Well, that was kind of where I was going. I'm gonna pivot a little bit and take Denny Hamlin when he gets hot, he likes to stay hot. So we'll see if we can go back to back this week. I'm gonna take Hamlin.
See what happens, Preston, when you're doing well. You don't get the early pick.
I was so used to just having my whole pick I wanted now. All right, here we go. Okay.
All right, so who do you think, Preston?
I'm going to go with Ryan Blaney.
Yep, that's a good call. Bill did not put in his pick, so anybody want to have some fun with that?
Yes, because I listened to what Josh said, and I applied it. Give me Chase Briscoe.
Oh, there you go. All right.
Hey, hometown, he's the Hoosier, hometown guy.
He is. That's a good call, and that would put Byron for Reggie. So we got William Byron for Reggie for this week. So outstanding. Thank you so much, Josh. We look forward to talking to you again next week, and hopefully you and I will do well.
Good. Thanks.
Thanks so much.
All right. So we got Briscoe, Blaney, Larson, Hamlin. Who'd Reggie take again?
William Byron.
William Byron. Okay, those are our picks for the Quarterly Pool Solutions Checkered Flag Challenge. We gave winners for that race. We'll give winners for the show next on the early game. All right, it's time to give out winners for today's program. A lot of options to choose from here, talking a lot of scheduling. Preston Thorne, I think you're my hypothesis here is that you're going outside of our SEC walls for our winner this week or today.
Yeah, I think not normal. I'm a homer, SEC through and through, but I'm down on us for our performance in media days. I'm giving my winners to every other conference's media days except the SEC. Big 12, interesting. Gundy put on a show. Dion was there. Dillingham did great.
Quote machine.
Big 10 in the matchup of Commish versus Commish. Sankey, you're my guy, but I think Tony Petitti got you this time. He was aggressive. He didn't back down. He stated his case for his conference. I think there was a directive for the conferences not to name SEC by name. So you heard the coaches talking about that other conference.
Yep.
Or I heard Franklin said, you know what those other guys do? It's petty, but I kind of like it. It's the spirit of college football. I thought it was really cool. So I think every other, and then ACC guys, Fran Brown's always going to heat it up. Dabo's on the mic at 12. You know that's going to be fun. Every other conference won media days and were more interesting to me as aside from the SEC. So I'm going to give all the other P4, the other conferences in the P4, I'm going to give you all wins over the SEC.
I'm going to say my winner today, college football fans, because week 1 is I got 2 winners. College football fans, number 1, because the slate that we have to start the season and the fact that it stretches, like in week 0, whatever, there's no 0th week to the season, but there's an interesting matchup with Kansas State, Iowa State. That is truly a gift from the football gods. And we get another conference game. And for the real sickos out there, I really appreciate those who are going to be tuning in at 7 o'clock to watch Western Kentucky and Sam Houston. I'll be so football starved that I absolutely will be trying to get a hold of access to CBSSN for that. But then you go to the next week. There are football games on Thursday. One really interesting one with Nebraska and Cincinnati. But then that Friday, Auburn and Baylor, Georgia Tech, Colorado. We start Saturday. The noon slate has Syracuse and Tennessee, and then Texas, Ohio State. A potential top 5 preseason AP poll matchup on the noon slate of the first full Saturday of the year. Alabama at Florida State, juicy because of Tommy Castellanos. I think he has made that a lot more interesting than we probably would have thought it was going into it. And then you keep going down. We have LSU at Clemson. There's some upset potential games like Coastal Carolina at Virginia. Underrated game on that slate. We have a revival of Pac-12 After Dark, the ghost of the Pac-12, because Cal's playing at Oregon State at 10:30 on ESPN, and then Utah's at UCLA at 11 o'clock on Fox. We can get a little weird on that opening Saturday. Oh, and the next day, Carolina kicks off against Virginia Tech in Atlanta, followed by Notre Dame at Miami. And then, to top it all off, on a standalone game on Monday, on Labor Day, TCU, North Carolina, Bill Belichick gets to coach against a TCU team that, like most teams in the Big 12, pretty good.
We're pretty good.
They're pretty good. It's exciting. That's a win for college football fans.
I love the Big 12 slogan. We're all pretty good.
We're all pretty good. Yeah, shout out Willie Fretz, head coach at Houston, for helping tagline, we're all pretty good. My second winner, anyone who's played against LSU to start the season since the turn of the decade.
You brought this statistic up, and it's kind of one of those things like, I don't know if that's true. One more time, in case somebody's just hearing this.
Yes, LSU has not won a season opener since they won the national title in 2019, because the next year, after that undefeated season, Mississippi State beat the hell out of them at home, 44-33. The next season in 21, they started at UCLA, lost that game 38-27. In 22, they lost to Florida State in the Superdome by 1 point after a blocked PAT. And then they went to Orlando and played Florida State and got beat by 3 touchdowns. And then last year, Southern Cal beat them in Vegas to start the year, 27-20. So since we have joined the 2020s as a decade, LSU has started every single season 0-1. It's not getting any easier because they will start the season in the upstate against Clemson on the road to start things off that Saturday night. That bodes well if you're Clemson.
That does.
Bodes very well.
That does. And as LSU Tim called in earlier today, appreciate anybody from another fan base listening to us. We appreciate you. He stated it. Hey, man, if Brian Kelly doesn't get that one, The seat's heating up. Now, who's it heating up for? Is absolutely ridiculous. But this is why we love college football.
It is.
Because if Brian Kelly loses that game, Nick Saban is back.
Sharks.
According to the rumors.
The Sharks are coming out. The Fins are going to be up because the Sharks are going to be out in Baton Rouge if Brian Kelly loses that game. That's one of the reasons that thing is so interesting. Not just because they're two really good football teams, because, buddy, it's going to get silly if he ends up losing that game. We look forward to getting silly with you again tomorrow starting at 6 a.m. I'm Elijah Campbell. He's Preston Thorne. She's Jen Jensen. We'll talk to you tomorrow morning. Tyler Head and Jack Veltri for the Extra Point. That's next.